Good day everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about one of the very first comic series that I really got into back in 1998. This is of course Battle Chasers by Joe Madureira. It was originally part of Wildstorm under its Cliffhanger imprint service. This was founded with J. Scott Campbell and Humberto Ramos, who did other comics that I will come to another time. The series then moved to Image in 2001. Now there's a very interesting story behind Wildstorm and Cliffhanger, which I would like to do as a separate video. It was a rather unique thing that happened back then, and it's quite a cool story. Well, I think so personally, because I was around in that period of time and I talked to people who were deeply involved in that project at that time, so it's always good to talk about things that you had witness to. Now, Battle Chasers has had some issues with getting issues out. There was 9 issues in 4 years, publishing 2 to 3 issues a year, a pace which was deeply criticised. Now, I want to say that Battle Chasers has got issue 10 oncoming in this, I believe it's 2022 that it's going to be released. So we've waited 19 years, no, 21, 22 each years.
He's the one true Morty!
21 years, roughly, but 22, it might be 22 depending on what part of 2022 it drops. So if it drops quite late, then it will be 22 years before we got issue 10.
No! I slept too long!
The last issue was published, as I said, in August 2001, so Madureira said he had plans to release issue 10, stating directly when issue 9, basically after issue 9, he said that he was going to release issue 10 soon. We've waited for 21, nearly 22 years, depending on when it will drop. Battle Chasers has some interesting characters. It has Garrison, the drunk ex-hero, who is a washout, he's full of self-loathing. He's the character that you grow to like and don't like initially. I think Garrison is largely inspired by maybe barbarians or warriors that have a dark past that they want to overcome and perform good and noble deeds. Garrison's sword is very cool because it reminds me of the Sword of Omens from Thundercats, and it was designed specifically to bring back memories of the Sword of Omens. It's mentioned in one of the old design documents that it was, so I remember that quite clearly. Gully. Now, Gully is probably the most important and my favourite character in the series. Now, it does come with a caveat. Gully is a female heroine that is not a damsel in distress. She's a young girl that is told to run away when her uncle is facing death. She grabs the box and she runs away with it, and during this time she's running with this box, she meets another character, Calibrito, but Gully opens this box and she shouldn't. In this box is a series of magical gloves, and these gloves start the path of Gully onto becoming a heroine, a great one at that. Cabralito is a gentle person, but he's not a person. He's a warbot. He was built to kill and destroy and live in battle. In fact, when he meets his own people, he's dismayed at how much they love war and death. He hates it so much that he destroys them. Cabralito is the type of warforged that we got later on, but he's much more than a warforged. He's more of a poet. He's the character that you could see being a samurai in another series. He is a gentle soul with a gentle nature, and he really just wants to protect nature and live with it. But because of his nature, that might never come to be. Colan is the atypical grumpy wizard character. He's sometimes the comic relief for the series, but he's sometimes the voice of wisdom. He is 500 years old, he's a spectacular magic caster. He accompanies Cabralito, and he knows a lot about Cabralito's past, maybe much more than he wants to say. The last character that we must talk about is Red Monica. Now, if you've seen Red Monica, she is Jeremy Roder basically says she's the Jessica Rabbit of the Battle Chasers world. She's obviously designed to be the femme fatale, but she's also much more. She's a pirate queen, she's an adventurer, she knows a lot about Garrison, and she trained him. She trained him to be this warrior. She is probably one of the most powerful individuals in the world, and I want to put a lot of caveat in here. I want to see what becomes of Red Monica. Comics in the 90s and early 2000s could have a femme fatale character who was not a Mary Sue. Red Monica is quite dark in some respects, and even though she's a powerful individual, even though she's probably more powerful than Garrison and knows a lot more than him, her hubris is often her downfall. She's a thief mainly, and I'm scared where she will go, because a lot of characters now are forced into boxes, and Red Monica was one of these people that never fit into any box. I hope that stays, but we need to see issue 10 and onwards. Battle Chasers also has Night War, a sort of scrolling attack game, which is a bit card based or turn based as I remember. Night War really tried to bring Battle Chasers into a new medium, and for what it did right, there was a lot wrong with it. Now, I want to add that I did like Night War. It was okay, you know. It wasn't very bad, but it wasn't very good either. It was the type of game that you probably could waste a few hours on, but it didn't do much for me. I only liked it because of the characters involved, and they were really well done. They were really well animated. Maybe I'll try and find some footage and put it on the video, but if I can't, I'll put some still images of what it looked like. Saying this, Calabrito was going to be in a game called Invisible before the studio crashed and burned. That was Lab Zero Games, so he probably won't appear in that game anymore because of the studio. In 2003, 20th Century Fox licensed Battle Chasers with Gil Netta attached to produce. However, 20th Century Fox is now owned by Disney, which means Disney now own that license to turn it into a movie, which raises more questions, just for me. How was Battle Chasers as a comic series? Well, there was a lot of tropes in it, and there was a lot of action in it. A lot of people read it for various different reasons. Cabralito's kind of like poetry and his self-reflection was one of them. Garrison's journey to becoming a hero once more. Gully's rise to become a hero and not understanding the power of the gloves that she uses. Nolan's weariness and yet also joking manner sometimes was also funny. But let's face facts. There was only really one reason people bought Battle Chasers back in the day. This was a thing back then, that a central female character or an important female character dominated the covers, and Red Monica certainly did. I want to note that Battle Chasers has had multitude of artists. It's also had Adam Warren for backstory on 6 and 9. It's had Tom McWeeney in 1 and 7. It's had Jason Martin 7 to 9. It's had Vince Russell, who did the Prelude issue, Scott Williams, who did 7, 8, Tim Townsend, who did part of 7, Trevor Scott, who did 8, Jeremy Roder himself did 9, and Liquid Graphics did the colouring. So did I like it? Certainly. Would I like it now? I don't know. I really don't, because it really depends on the direction that it takes now. I think that some people like to bring back old series and put new spins on them, but we've got the same guy in charge, Joe Meridia. So I hope it'll be good. Only time can tell. Is it worth a read? Sure, if you like your old comics. Sure. If you're a big fan of the Cliffhanger, if you like Roberto Hermos, if you like J. Scott Campbell's art back in the day, before the whole redrawing event, sure, it's worth a read. So that's a comic that I used to read, and it's got an issue 10 coming, so we'll be looking at issue 10 when it comes out, so it was worth doing 1 to 9. The story is largely a fantasy one. We've read it a million times over, but we've got some interesting characters to look at. So thank you all for your time. I've been Trix, and you've been you. And this has been my little talk about Battle Chasers 1 to 9, and a little bit about the history of it. So thanks all, and bye bye.